We are now on to lecture 2, part 2, in which we're going to discuss the minuet example in order to illustrate a utilitarian decision. We will then move on to examine a criticism of utilitarianism that it does not have room for respecting individuals. We'll also examine a utilitarian answer to that criticism, utilitarian protection of individual liberty, and we'll look at a criticism of that response. And the criticism will be based on the notion of inherent worth of individuals, which the claim is utilitarianism still does not have. And now on to the minuet example. Sandel presents us with a classical utilitarian moral dilemma based on an event that really happened, the minuet lifeboat. 3 shipwrecked sailors were in a boat at sea without rescue for many days. They killed and ate the 4th sailor, who was sick and was likely to die. When the lifeboat was rescued, the sailors were tried for murder. Again, the straightforward utilitarian welfare morals command that the one person should be sacrificed for the sake of 3. But then there are the freedom and justice objections. The man is killed without his consent and does not deserve it. We can see how the principal objection to utilitarianism is that it does not respect something like individual rights. We have a deep moral intuition that individuals cannot be sacrificed to collectives. One way that has become established to articulate that objection is to speak of individual rights. In a way, a great portion of modern philosophy of morals has been an attempt to articulate this intuition through notions of individual rights, inherent worth of individuals, freedom, self-ownership, and so on. Each of these ways sheds light on something deep and important, but it is not easy to conclude that one of them had definitively captured the moral intuition and question, or that any one of them captures it in the best way. Sandel brings to our attention the above individual rights objection. It is a criticism of Mignonette Saylor's decision and of utilitarianism as a whole, from outside of utilitarianism, pointing out a flaw with utilitarianism itself. But there's also a second objection to the Mignonette Saylor's decision. But this objection comes from within utilitarianism itself. According to the second objection, the problem with the Mignonette decision is that it sets a bad precedent and a bad example for the rest of society. It communicates to everyone that it is okay to take anyone's life or property when more people are benefited by such actions, and even to take that decision upon oneself. That communication, by inspiring accordant actions, undermines the collective happiness of society. There are 2 English philosophers in the 19th century who work out the theory of utilitarianism. Jeremy Bentham introduces the main tenets of utilitarianism with regard to importance and calculation of utility based on happiness and suffering. The second philosopher is John Stuart Mill. The Mignonette lifeboat example brings us to Mill's corrective of Bentham in utilitarian theory. Mill argues that respecting individual liberty, that is to say, not sacrificing individuals for the good of the collective, will lead to the greatest human happiness in the long run. There would just be so much anxiety on the part of the members of the collective for whom individuals would be sacrificed. The anxiety over that, at any moment, any individual can be next. The above Bentham-Mills debate within utilitarianism has become known as the opposition between act utilitarianism and rule utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism would have us calculate the utility of each act, each action, separately, and the mignonette decision would be justifiable here. Rule utilitarianism, on the other hand, would have us calculate utility of rules rather than acts, and the mignonette example would violate the rule that maximizes utility by deeming individual liberty as inviolable. If we don't respect the liberty of individuals, at any point anyone could be sacrificed for the collective, we would all just be living in such fear that it seems likely that whatever benefits the collective would gain by sacrificing individuals would be strongly undermined by the anxiety of each of the members of the collective. However, Sandel points out a standard criticism of the utilitarian rule to not violate individual liberty. Utilitarianism still cannot explain the value of the intrinsic worth of individuals and their freedom. The above explanation shows that individuals are only spared and are allotted individual rights so that the happiness of all individuals in the collective, the sum total, does not decrease. We, on the other hand, take something like individual rights to be much deeper than that and belonging to individuals just by their being individuals.